West Michigan's most important stories. West Michigan Live is on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
I tell you what, it was a heck of a weekend, but we're back to work, right? Well, most folks. Some maybe not. But it is back to work on this Tuesday, and of course, talking about back to work in Michigan and West Michigan and what makes this such a great place to live. Of course, the people. And the people are the businesses. They run these businesses, the startups. There's so many great things happening in West Michigan right now. And I got to tell you, the folks at Varnum put together this program, I guess it was about 5 years ago? Zach Meyer, lawyer from Varnum, attorney here, joining us in studio right now to talk about MiSpringboard. Was it 5 years ago now?
5 years ago.
So what is MiSpringboard, and how are you guys helping with some of the businesses and entrepreneurs?
So MiSpringboard was a program conceived 5 years ago, in a different time when things were different here in Michigan. And we as a law firm, we're looking for a different sort of approach and a different way to help out the businesses here in Michigan, and decided to try to invest into the startup and emerging company environment that was at that point just starting to pick up some momentum. So the program was designed with the aim of helping startup companies and Michigan businesses to get over some of those hurdles that they see early on in the business development phase. Yeah, it's so tough
with any business. When you start out, I mean, that is the critical, getting past the first couple of hurdles. So many businesses fail, and I think what I read the stat, there's a like 80% maybe that fail in the first year, and then the next year there's another 60%. I'm just kind of pulling those numbers out of thin air there, but the stats are staggering when you look them up and you think to yourself, I mean, it really is tough operating a business and successfully to have a sort of a hand up in the sense of a little support, pushing you through that first hurdle. Very cool that Varnum is offering another $1 million in this. Yeah. What are some of the things that small businesses, startups, what are some of the things that the folks need when they start a business?
It's a wide variety of things. Sometimes it's a matter of working with their workforce, some key employees and employment contracts.
Sure.
Sometimes it's even earlier in the business formation stage where we're actually helping with the formation of the business, working on some of the governing documents that address some of the business relationships at the ownership level. We get into intellectual property matters, such as trademarks.
It's big.
Advising and counseling on that, and some of it's strategic even in the lead up to financing events, where they're looking to bring in outside investors or work with a lender to bring in new capital.
So what are they looking for when it comes to, what are the different documents and things that you got to make sure you have all your I's dotted, your T's crossed when you're looking for that sort of thing?
Sure. Articles of incorporation, operating agreements, employment agreements, lease agreements, joint venture agreements, just about any kind of agreement you can think of.
And it's all got to be completely, like we said, I's dotted, T's crossed. Because if your paperwork's not in order, that can really affect you, can't it?
That's right. And we see that come up quite frequently when people forego dotting their I's and crossing their T's early on, that it becomes a little bit of a mess down the road.
Yeah. Well, the two things that they say that are most important when you're starting a business or running one are the two A's, right? You got to make sure you got a great attorney, and you got to make sure you got a great accountant. Those are the two biggest things they say. You got to make sure you got those things in line. And I know Varnum goes a long way for that.
Yeah. And those are things that are difficult for startups to justify sometimes because there's not a lot of cash to outlay for that sort of expertise.
But boy, is it important.
Yes.
It really can be. So when we talk about some of the things that we're looking at here in West Michigan, what are you noticing? Just from your perspective, Zach Meyer here with us, attorney with Varnum, and some of the success stories with MiSpringboard.
Yeah, there's been a change in the environment where there wasn't much of a have a startup culture ingrained 5 years ago, there was certainly a lot of interest in it.
Yeah.
And over the last 5 years, we have seen a lot more emerge from that. Companies are perhaps better classified as emerging companies rather than startup companies in a lot of respects. And we've been able to work with companies that had not formed when we first entered into a relationship with them, and are now looking at first or second stage financing, and are getting through product development, are doing testing, research and development, and interacting with customers and cash flowing. So we're seeing a maturing startup sector here in West Michigan in particular.
And all throughout the state, really. I mean,
yes,
it's
absolutely.
Some of the things that are happening in on the east side are pretty cool too. And I've heard about some of these, these tech companies that are doing some really, really amazing things right now.
There's a significant mass of entrepreneurship and very neat technology coming out of the Ann Arbor area with the connections with U of M, and a lot of the rebirth in Detroit as well. And it's really just a blossoming of creative energy, I think.
Yeah. Well, and it's really neat to see that because, one of the things that makes Michigan and West Michigan so great are the people, and it's the people that drive these businesses, the ideas, the work to move them forward, and it's the folks like Varnum really helping out. Now, what if somebody wants to they hear this and they think, okay, maybe this is for me or this is for somebody I know. How do they get involved? What's that process like?
So we work with referral partners that work in sort of the economic development and support sector. They tend to offer some first-line resources to the clientele that we're looking to service with a MiSpringboard program. And they act as a referral source. They'll work with the applicant to fill out the materials that we require to internally accept them into the program. And we kind of rely on them to send us good candidates to really kind of fit the mission.
Sure. And so, when you look at some of these folks that are being referred your way, what do you kind of see as who is a good candidate versus who isn't?
We like to see applicants that have growth opportunity, that will perhaps bring some growth not just in the business but also in employment here in Michigan, and kind of a commitment to Michigan as a place to do business.
Yeah, and so much great about this. We hear it seems like every week we hear new news about new companies that are deciding to make Michigan and West Michigan their home, and of course companies that are expanding, et cetera. And it's really unlike any place else.
Absolutely.
And thank you for making it, helping to do your part there. Of course, Varnum and the great folks at VarnumLaw.com, Varnum Attorneys at Law. Of course, Zach Meyer joining us today to talk about MiSpringboard. Hey, thank you, Zach. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great day. We'll continue to keep you updated with the news. Got an interesting